Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Nancy Godi Angonihu, and on sign language is Shegu Ajayi. We're streaming live on Vision TV 247 and other social media platforms displayed on your screen. First, the headlines. International Court of Justice and The Hague commences hearing in a lawsuit against Israel by South Africa. Al-Shabaab militants capture UN helicopter in Somalia, just as Morocco wins a vote to lead UN Human Rights Council. And Progressive Governors Forum drums support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And it is hope rising for the Ajaokuta steel plant as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved that a committee of critical stakeholders be set to address issues that would facilitate the takeoff of the project. This story will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletins. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, commenced hearings on South Africa's lawsuit against Israel. South Africa said that Israel breached its obligations under the 1948 United Nations approved Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide during its Gaza offensive. Justin Munye reports.
The 84-page filing stated that Israel's actions in Gaza are genocidal, intended to bring about the destruction of a substantial part of the Palestinian population. President Cyril Ramaphosa stated on Wednesday that South Africa's opposition to the ongoing Gaza conflict led them to resort to the ICJ, emphasizing their commitment to standing on the right side of history based on their own experiences of dispossession, discrimination, racism, and state-sponsored violence.
Israel's conduct has been deliberately calculated to cause widespread hunger, dehydration, and starvation. Israel's campaign has pushed Gazans to the brink of famine. An unprecedented 93% of the population in Gaza is facing crisis levels of hunger.
No armed attack on a state territory, no matter how serious, even an attack involving atrocity crimes, can provide any justification for or defense to breaches to the convention, whether as a matter of law or morality. Israel's response to the 7th of October 2023 attack has crossed this line and give rise to the breaches of the convention.
We are also particularly mindful of Israel's institutionalized regime of discriminatory laws, policies and practices designed and maintained to establish domination, subjecting the Palestinian people to apartheid on both sides of the Green Line.
Israel swiftly rejected a genocide claim, with the foreign ministry asserting that South Africa's case lacks legal foundation and constitutes a despicable and contemptuous exploitation of the court. Eylon Levy from the Israeli Prime Minister's office accused South Africa of providing political and legal cover to the October 7 attacks by Hamas that triggered Israel's campaign. Despite the rejection, Israel confirmed its participation in the legal proceedings to counter what it deemed as South Africa's absurd blood libel.
And here is the nation that prides itself on being the anti-racist nation, giving legal support to Hamas. It's a travesty of history. What we heard this morning was really, unfortunately, I think a travesty. The South African government prides itself on heading a country, they call it the Rainbow Nation, a nation which has anti-racism as its core, and yet here we see South Africa, unfortunately, aligning itself with the Hamas terrorist organization. Now, we know from a security point of view, there is no substitute for Israel to fight terrorism, to eliminate Hamas's military machine, and to enforce the continued demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. Obviously, that will require Israeli ongoing action. doesn't necessarily mean an ongoing Israeli action that will be all the time inside the Gaza Strip, but we have to be prepared to go in when we need to go in to make sure there isn't a resurgent terrorist threat. At the same time, and there's no contradiction, as I said, we don't want to see a political control from Israel. We want to see Gazans govern themselves.
Many countries have welcomed South Africa's ICJ case against Israel, including Malaysia, Turkey, Jordan, Bolivia, the Maldives, Colombia, and Brazil. The Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC, and the Arab League also support the suit. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
And reports from Somalia indicate that one of the militant groups in that country, Al-Shabaab, has captured a United Nations helicopter in the central area of the country. Several passengers were reportedly taken by the armed group after a helicopter carrying 9 people landed in the Galgaduud region. The helicopter was said to have technical issues and landed close to Gadoun village. To this end, the United Nations has temporarily suspended flight operations in the vicinity until further notice. Morocco has won a vote to lead the United Nations Human Rights Council in a secret ballot in Geneva. The Moroccan candidate, Ambassador Omar Zniba, received 30 votes, and his South African opponent, Ambassador Clolise Nkosi, secured 17. Justin Bemunyi reports.
It was Africa's turn to take the presidency of the UN's top rights body, but African nations could not agree on a single candidate. Zniba told the council after being elected that he now had a duty to work with in meeting the requirements of the UN's common work, which are so important and so fundamental: the promotion of respect toward and guarantee of human rights as universally recognized. The Foreign Ministry in Rabat said Zniba's successful candidacy came despite the mobilization of Algeria and South Africa to counter it. Morocco's election, for the first time in its history, to the presidency of the UN body constitutes an acknowledgement by the international community of the far-sighted vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI in protecting and promoting human rights. This choice, enshrined in the 2011 Constitution, results in a continuous momentum of reforms aimed in particular at consolidating democracy, gender equality, social and territorial justice, the effectiveness of human rights, inclusive participation, and youth empowerment. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Troops of the Nigerian military have arrested suspected extremists and kidnappers in the Buhari Area Council of Abuja and Tafa in Niger State. Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, announced this at a periodic news conference for update on ongoing military operations across the country.
For the reports that have come concerning the FCT environs, as I speak to you, operations are ongoing at those locations. In the last 1 week, we have arrested several of them, and they are providing intelligence to support our operations.
That 40 kidnapped victims were rescued, 49 terrorists eliminated in combat, while 111 arrested in the last 7 days.
There's mineral under the ground, right? So some people want that mineral. And to get that mineral, what do? They want to displace the community who is there. It's everybody's business. On the Kaduna-Abuja highway, where terrorists were going to cross the road and they were effectively engaged by troops. Unfortunately, some civilians were caught up in the crossfire. We were after them and they couldn't remain where they were. So they had to move out. And in the process, we still had to engage them. We cannot leave them. We have to destroy them.
Similarly, troops have arrested 30 oil smugglers, destroyed 60 illegal refining sites, 65 local boats, and 71 illegal storage tanks. The Nigerian armed forces, both serving and retired, are great nationalists deserving of honor and support from all Nigerians in view of their unquantifiable sacrifices to nationhood. This came to the fore at an interface between management of NTA Maiduguri Network Center and officials of Borno State chapter of the Nigerian Legion. Pauline Kujevana has details.
These are management staff of NTA Maiduguri Zonal Center being decorated with the Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem. The Zonal Director, Mohammed Abubakar, underscores the sacrificial role of the Nigerian Armed Forces in safeguarding the indivisibility of Nigeria and their recent sacrifices in confronting Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast.
Anybody with fair knowledge of Nigeria's history as a nation will know that the armed forces have struggled very, very, very hard to keep Nigeria one.
Chairman, Borno State chapter of the Nigerian Legion, Colonel Williams Mamza, retired, observed with gratitude the support of the Nigerian Television Authority towards the Nigerian Legion, especially by availing them of needed publicity to all their functions.
With the emblem appeal week of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2024, for your well performance in the coverage of all our activities in the Nigerian Legion. We are very grateful.
He used the forum to applaud Borno State government and all stakeholders in the state for identifying with members and families of the Nigerian Legion. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
The Supreme Court has affirmed Umo Eno Basi as the duly elected governor of Akwa Ibom State. The 5-man panel of justices gave the order in a verdict read by Justice Abba Aji. Omenka Marachuku reports that the Apex Court struck out the 3 separate appeals brought before it.
The 3 separate appeals filed by some governorship candidates in the March 28 election were seeking nullification of the victory of Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno on the alleged certificate forgery. The decision of the Supreme Court followed the withdrawal of the 3 appeals. The Court of Appeal in Lagos had in November last year affirmed the election of Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State. Dissatisfied with the appeal judgment, the appellants, APC and its governorship candidate Akanimo Udofia, YPP and its governorship candidate Aban Albert Basi, as well as the NNPP, approached the Apex Court for the determination of the appeal. Counsel in the matter had made spirited attempts to convince the Apex Court that Eno Emo Basi and Basi Eno Emo were not same. As such, the governor allegedly forged his secondary school certificate. Their argument, especially forgery allegations, did not go down well with the Apex Court justices, who queried the lawyers on whether the West African Examination Council gave evidence to establish the criminal allegations. Upon admission that WAEC did not testify in the matter, all counsel in the matter opted and separately withdrew their appeal.
In regard to disqualification, and what the Supreme Court has done has been to confirm that Pastor Moino is not only the governor of Akwa Ibom State, but that he has genuine certificates. I think that's the more important thing, because that matter had already been decided in another Supreme.
I also have that conviction that once the court, has decided that okay, this is the line of action you have to take, we are duty bound to comply with that order of the court.
Also, the Supreme Court has reserved appeal judgment of the PDP challenging the re-election of Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
And now we will not allow the dry season, which is favorable for construction, to waste. So we go back to site immediately. These were the words of the Minister of Works when he met with contractors in Abuja. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that the minister also stated that those who fail to resume work will have their contracts terminated.
Standing ovation and a wave to the tens of contractors was a happy ending of a meeting, which was without any smile from the minister.
There are some places that we must have concrete roads.
His words were stern, insisting that works are carried out in conformity to standards.
We are working very hard to see how we can begin to introduce solar lights, and some of the projects, especially completed ones, we hand over to private sector to improve upon and put facilities in our service stations to make life easier, increase the working hours of Nigerians, make the roads safer, introduce night travels as they used to be.
The minister did not leave without setting a new target of constructing 150 kilometers of road in each state, including the Federal Capital Territory, within 1 year.
This special project is excluded in our proposal which we are to complete in this year. But it's a commitment from this ministry that we will complete this Abuja, Lagos, Ibadan, the second Niger bridge, the two bypasses in Asaba and Onisha.
But he left behind information sharing among the contractors, an exchange of pleasantries, as well as ideas towards meeting the hurdles and deadlines. In Abuja, Abdullah Mohammed, NTA News.
Watching the news on NTA International. We take a break. Thanks for staying with us. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has appointed new leaders for 3 Nigerian banks whose boards and managements were dissolved on Wednesday. In a statement signed by Hakama Sidi Ali, the acting director of corporate communications at the Apex Bank, named Yetunde Oni as the new managing director, chief executive officer of Union Bank, and Manir Ubale Ringim as executive director. Also named is Hassan Imam, who will take over the helm as managing director and chief executive officer of Keystone Bank. Choma A. Mang will serve as executive director of the bank. A new leadership team was also announced for Polaris Bank, with Lawal Mudatir Omokayode Akintola as managing director, chief executive officer, and Chris Onyeka Ofikulu named executive director. The appointments take immediate effect, the CBN statement said. The federal government is soliciting the cooperation of organized labor in promoting workers' welfare and improving national productivity. Minister of State, Labor and Employment Nkiruka Onyeji-Ocha made this request in Abuja when she paid a visit to the president and leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, as part of strategies to mobilize critical stakeholders to align with government's agenda in the labour sector. The minister, while seeking collaboration of the organized labour in fulfilling government obligations to Nigerian workers, decries the use of strike to resolve industrial disputes as it disrupts the economy, stating that strike should be the last resort. In response to the visit, NLC President Joseph Ajeru urges government at all levels to desist from violating trade union rights and defaulting on agreements reached with labor, as such actions brew trust gaps. He urges the minister to push for clearance of the backlog of agreements reached with labor as further proof of government's commitment to workers' well-being. Governors on the platform of the governing All Progressives Congress, APC, say the renewed hope agenda of the federal government is a national project which would be implemented across the board. The decision was reached by the Progressive Governors Forum at its first meeting in the year 2024 after a closed-door session that lasted several hours.
We will continue to support him. We will take his policies to the grassroots. And as subnational leaders of our great party, ensure that our people come on the same page with the thinking of the government, which its primary objective is how to secure the country and provide adequate welfare to the good people of our dear country.
Applauds the practical steps taken by Tinubu's presidency to change the socio-economic and political narratives of the country and pledged total support.
The Progressive Governors Forum are united in supporting the administration ably led by our ebullient President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR.
Off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo states, the Progressive Governors Forum says it is ready to engage the people for victory and development of the country. A pair of books working with Buhari, Reflection of the Special Advisor Media and Publicity 2015 to 2023 and Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian Legacy 2015 to 2023 is set to be launched next week, Tuesday, 16th of January 2024 in Abuja. The author and media aide to former President Muhammadu Buhari, Femi Adesina, and co-authors say the books seek to correct certain narratives about the former president as well as his achievements in office.
If there is anyone who knew better in and out of the former president Muhammadu Buhari, it would be his image maker, the media aide Femi Adesina. Haven't known the man long before he became the president of Nigeria, what he has to say in his book, Working with Buhari, Reflection of the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity 2015 to 2023 will be to reveal, clarify, correct a wrong notion while setting the record straight about his former boss.
There is a certain myth about President Buhari, a narrative that his political enemies had sold and fed to the Nigerian public. I just felt that the true narrative needed to be told, and that's why I have written this book.
The second book, Muhammadu Buhari, The Nigerian Legacy, is a 5-volume book with 100 authors. It chronicles the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari across board.
80 pages of that book are dedicated to Buhari's achievements across sectors, so that if there are revisionists who want to change the narrative and say he didn't do anything, they have that book to contend with.
Much as this is the most authoritative and most definitive work on the Muhammadu Buhari administration, I cannot say that we covered everything that there is to be covered. It will probably take us another 1-2 years of research and work to have done that.
The books are set to be launched on the 16th of this month at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja, with former President Muhammadu Buhari, Goodluck Jonathan, as well as Yakubu Gowon in attendance, along with the incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The Voice of Nigeria is seeking collaboration with private media outfits in the country in projecting the positive image of Nigeria to the globe. The Director General of the agency, Malam Jibrin Baba Ndache, disclosed this when he led his management team on a courtesy visit to the management of Media Trust Group in Abuja. Chukunon Songwabweze reports.
Malam Jibrin Baba Ndache said the meeting is to amplify the responsibility of Voice of Nigeria towards ensuring that stories being disseminated by the media about Nigeria is truthful, authentic and factual, in line with the renewed hope agenda of the present administration. The Director General emphasized that since government and its agencies cannot do it alone, the need to reach out to key players in the media industry like the Media Trust Group becomes even more imperative.
Traditional media like ours is challenged by platforms, sometimes very inconsequential, but have the capacity not just to embarrass individuals but also nations. And that has led to fake news, misinformation and disinformation. As traditional platforms, we have responsibility, either public platform like ours or private concern like yours. We must come together to fight this unfortunate trend.
The group CEO of Media Trust, Ahmed Shekara, while commending the management of Voice of Nigeria for the bold initiative, pledged his organization's readiness to partner with Voice of Nigeria in the areas of training, capacity building, as well as content creation and sharing.
There are a lot that we can do together between Voice of Nigeria and the Media Trust Group, and we will explore all those areas that we think we can work together.
The two agencies are expected in the coming months to streamline areas of mutual interests before formalizing this partnership. Chukunon Songwabweze, NTN News.
And Suleiman Musa has an update on sports. And next is Friday's weather forecast. And that's the news on NTA International. On behalf of Shegun Ajayi, who's been on sign language, this is Nancy Godianguni, who thanking you for watching.